Hello, it's Greg James and Chris Smith, and we're about to read you an exclusive passage from our brand new adventure of Kid Normal and the Rogue Heroes. This is straight into the action, early doors in the book. They are on a mission where they have to try and find out what's happening inside a museum. There's been a disturbance, and here we go.
Penelope Travers owned one of the finest collections of Egyptian antiquities in the country. Well, legally speaking, she didn't actually own it because most of it had been stolen, but she certainly had a large collection of Egyptian antiquities back home at her family mansion, and tonight she was planning to add to it. The burglar's eyes sparkled like damp globes of raw pork as she waddled around, gloating over the glinting treasures that filled the museum's glass cases.
Have you disabled the alarm, Hugo?
She snapped.
Yes, Auntie.
Cringed a smartly dressed young man who'd been busily tapping at a panel on the wall.
We're ready to rock and roll.
Don't use that ridiculous expression,
Barked Penelope, wagging a portly, ring-encrusted finger in his general direction.
Now, where's my other nephew? Come over here, you great lumbering brute of a boy.
A third figure galumphed into view. It was a hugely thick-set youth whose belly was fighting against his shirt and very, very nearly winning.
Have you got the bags, Rupert?
She asked.
Yup.
He replied, not being a great one for banter.
Then it's time to add some more pretties to my little collection.
Breathed Penelope Travers.
And I think we start with Puskins over there.
She heaved herself over to a plinth in the centre of the room, on top of which stood a gleaming golden statue of a cat with green jewelled eyes.
Come to Auntie.
She coaxed, reaching out a clammy hand. But at that moment, she was distracted by a strange noise. It sounded, impossibly, like the clip-clopping of tiny horses' hooves. The would-be cat burglar peered over her shoulder, but could see nothing through the gloom. When she turned back, the golden cat was gone.
Where is it?
Shrieked Penelope, scrabbling at the plinth and looking around frantically, as if the treasure had wandered off like a real cat and would be somewhere close by licking its bottom. She thought she caught a glint of yellow towards the back of the room, and her eyes narrowed.
There's someone over there! Rupert! Get them!
My pleasure, Auntie.
Grunted Rupert. He lumbered over to the enormous golden sarcophagus at the back of the gallery. Its label read, "The Mummy of the Pharaoh Amasis. Do not touch."
I can't see anyone, Auntie. Just a mummy.
Called Rupert.
Look for them then!
Came Penelope's bossy voice from behind the cabinets.
They must be hiding somewhere.
Rupert edged towards the upright tomb, reaching out a hand to open the lid and see if anyone was lurking inside.
Come to Papa, Mummy.
He murmured to himself, proving why he should stick to banter-free conversation. Suddenly, the sarcophagus burst open. Ancient bandages flew everywhere, like streamers at the most bizarre party ever, and Rupert screamed in pure terror as the preserved remains of the Pharaoh Amasis shot out of the coffin and ballooned towards him. He turned and ran, shoving his aunt out of the way as he pelted out of the room and away down the stairs. Behind the tomb, Billy looked across at Murph, who was hiding in the shadow of a nearby sphinx, and gave him a large thumbs up with a large thumb. Penelope Travers' other nephew, Hugo, had watched in horror as his beefier brother had fled. He was just starting to sidestep towards the door when his aunt stopped him.
Not so fast!
She barked.
I didn't come all this way to leave without those pretties. Get back there now and snag me something shiny! Now!
Now, Hugo was scared of inflating mummies, but he was even more scared of shouting aunties. He edged tentatively forward, hoping to swipe something and get out quickly. His eyes rested on a brightly polished metal jug, standing on its own on top of a display cabinet. He made a grab for it, but as he did, another hand shot out from behind the cabinet and touched the jug at the same time. Its metal surface was immediately covered with tiny criss-crossing blue lines of electricity. Hugo's body jerked and danced as the electrical power of Nellie's stored lightning raced all the way through him. He snatched his hand away and careered off down the stairs after his brother.
Oh, useless boys!
Harumphed Penelope to herself, straightening her shoulders.
Well, as the old saying goes, if you want something stealing, steal it yourself.
She clumped to the nearest cabinet, which held a display of animal statues, crocodiles, cats, snakes, and, at the very front, 2 tiny horses.
Stop right there!
Came a voice from behind her. Penelope spun around. Framed in the doorway, standing with hands on hips in the internationally recognised hero stance, was a young boy. His hair was tousled and his jeans scruffy, but he was looking at her confidently and coolly.
And who are you supposed to be? PC pipsqueak?
crowed the thief arrogantly.
I don't really know what that means,
Said Murph.
but your little shopping trip's over.
Oh, I don't think it is.
Penelope was playing for time.
In fact, I'm going to gather up these ancient statues and walk right out of here, and there's nothing you can do about it.
She reached into the cabinet and grabbed the horses before making a run for the door. Just as she got to the top of the stairs, she decided to stop for a little gloat. Now that she knew the source of all this chaos had been one puny boy, she was confident she'd be back at her mansion in time for tea, ancient Egyptian horse statues in hand.
Come on then, pretty horsey.
She fluted, holding up one statue to her face.
Let's gallop away from this funny little boy.
Penelope had just had time to register that it really was a very realistic statue before the horse lunged forward and bit her firmly on the nose. She screamed and flung the tiny horse away from herself.
Careful!
Came a shout from behind a bookcase. Hilda ran out and dashed to the horse, which was lying on the stone floor.
Artax, are you okay?
She whispered. The horse whinnied in a comforting way. Hilda glared at Penelope furiously.
Nobody hurts my horses.
At that moment, Penelope realised that she was still holding the second horse. She squealed as it pirouetted neatly, kicked her squarely in the chin, and sent her toppling all the way down the stairs, her arms flailing and her face wobbling like a jelly on top of a washing machine. All 5 Super Zeros came together at the top of the stairs to gaze down at the now unconscious burglar.
Good work, Hilda.
Congratulated Mary as she drifted down from the ceiling. She was clutching her umbrella in one hand and the golden cat statue in the other.
And nice work with the exploding mummy, Billy.
Billy grinned.
It was Murph's idea.
He admitted.
Our best ideas usually are.
Said Mary. They all turned to their leader. Murph blushed and lifted the halo unit to his mouth.
Alliance, come in. Super Zeros here. Museum suspects neutralised. Please advise Camus.
Signing off, Murph looked around his friends in satisfaction at a job well done.
Copy that, Super Zeros.
Came a calm voice from the handset.
Police will be in attendance shortly. Clear the scene and keep out of sight. Good work.
As the screen went blank, Murph looked at his watch. It was 8:25.
I'm going to be late for dinner.
Mary smiled and flumped her umbrella at him.
Need a lift home?